What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily. And the Celtics finally got a W on the board as they took game 3. The series is now 2-1. Tonight we get game 4. We're back in the Garden, in the Madison Square Garden, that is. And thank God the Celtics road record, which was the best in the league over the regular season. Yes, even better than the Oklahoma City Thunder, stayed true as they went in and dominated, as all the celebrities in the state of New York managed somehow to be courtside, whether it was Ben Stiller, Tracy Morgan, Maggie Rogers was there, Timothy Chalamet, the whole crew was there, and I hope they all cried together in a group. But the Celtics won 115-93, and they kept the 20-point lead, right? For games 1 and 2, they built this big lead up and then slowly but surely gave it back. They did not do this. Mazzulla with clutch timeouts throughout the game. Everybody was playing up to par. And it just started from start to finish, right? The first quarter, they go up 16 points after one, 36-20. Then they outscore them 35-26 heading into halftime, and then just managed to go cruise control and get this W. Everybody contributed too. You had Tatum, who had 22, 9, and 7 in this game. Al Horford was great for them. He had 15 and 9. You'll notice that Al, 2 days rest. You know, as an older person, it feels nice to have a couple days rest instead of that back-to-back, right? Or every other day, excuse me. Jaylen Brown had 19. He was looking spry, jumping around there. The athleticism seemed back. I think he enjoyed the rest as well. Derek White was 17 off the bench. I'm sorry, from the starters. Peyton Pritchard had 23 off the bench. We'll talk about him in a second. But again, the Celtics went 20 for 40 from 3. So they actually shot 50%, knocked down some of those open threes. They get to the line 17 times. And then the real story was they held OG Anunoby, who went on fire in game 1. I believe he had 29 points in game 1. In game 3, played 31 minutes. He got 6 shots up, only making one of them. Didn't get to the line a single freaking time. He finished with 2 points and 2 boards and a minus 25. And the Celtics were also out there hacking Mitchell Robinson, which, again, ethically speaking, not a fun way to watch basketball. Don't really love the intentional foul, but listen, if it's going to get us a W, it's going to get us a W. Mitch Rob played 19 minutes, and he went 4 for freaking 12 from the line. That's right. He had 8 missed free throws. He had 8 of the 11 missed free throws of the New York Knicks. They got to the line 25 times, on 35 times, making 24 of them. And yeah, Mitch Rob was tough. He was a -3 out there. Peyton Pritchard got him on a switch a couple of times and just absolutely cooked him. So the Celtics responded in the way that they should have been. And what's been so frustrating about this entire series is that not much has changed between game 1, 2, and 3, except for the fact that they were able to close out. The offense didn't get stagnant. The ball was zipping around the court, and they just were able to stay mentally tough. And I don't know if they just needed to have that feeling like their back was against the wall or what with dropping those first 2 games at home, but it seems like the beast has been woken. I believe Joe Mazzulla, which everybody cash your bets if you had bet on him saying something crazy after the first 2 games. Sometimes you have to tap into the darkness. He does sound like he's a DC comic villain or something at times. Honestly, in some ways, he looks like one as well. But Mazzulla got the Celtics where they needed to be for game 3. But the real question is if they're going to be able to do it for game 4. But before we move on to game 4, let's give Peyton Pritchard some love. The 6th man of the year was absolutely cooking for him. Ended up playing 18 minutes in the first half. So after that first rotation, Mazzulla was like, I like what we see here. Let's let the little man cook. He finished by playing 35 minutes. Again, 23 points, 4 boards. He took 10 threes, and he knocked down 5 of them, shooting 50% from 3. Did a really good job. Staying in front of Brunson, which is no easy task. And then anytime he got a switch on him, he was able to attack. Again, he kind of played Mitchell Robinson off the court at times. So Peyton Pritchard, we said this after the Orlando series, right? The Orlando series was not the series for Peyton Pritchard. He had I think he had those 2 games, 3 and 4, where he combined for like 3 points or something crazy like that. But the way Orlando defends their long, wingy guards that are out there, just not the best matchup for Pritchard, where for whatever reason, the Knicks just don't have the depth to stay in front of them. It's a little bit more of a free flow out there, and Pritchard was able to get into a rhythm and just cooked. And the Celtics are going to need more of that, because one of the concerns as we head into game 4 is the turnaround time, right? So we mentioned that Al Horford just seems to play much better after a couple of days rest. And now from that game on Saturday, you now play on Monday night. The Knicks probably are going to feel a little bit of more pressure than they did. When you're up 2-0, it's like, yes, you can say, well, this is still a must win because we're at home. We're going to win this game. Don't want to let it back in. But it's hard to recreate the sense of urgency when you're up 2-0 versus down 2-0. And so I think you're going to see a more aggressive, more complete New York Knicks team here tonight in Game 4. And the Celtics now are going to be having to have Al Horford, who again played 30-plus minutes in Game 3, now only 1 day rest on the road, and are going to have to do it again. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bigger presence from Luke Cornett. Cornette, who's still been playing like really good when called upon for the Celtics, only played 10 minutes in Game 3, finished the game with 6 points and 2 boards. But I wonder if we see a little bit more from him because Kristaps Porzingis, who again, he had 5 points, 4 boards, and 2 dimes in that game, 5 personal fouls in 19 minutes, that's like Draymond Green numbers. But Zinger's clearly not 100%. And they, he actually had a cryptic Instagram post where he's just, I guess it wasn't cryptic. Maybe it was just nice where he's like appreciating the support and on this journey or whatever. It made it sound like maybe he's done after this, which again, that's super reading into it. But he's clearly not 100%. There was this weird reporting where Shams was making it seem like he had some inside scoop on what it was, where he's like, we know what the disease is, we know the illness he's battling, but we're not going to talk about it. What are we doing? So I don't suspect we're going to see more than like 18 to 20 minutes from Porzingis off the bench. Now, those minutes are still super important. Porzingis' length and still the threat for him to pick and pop is really important for that Celtics offense and the rim protection on defense. But if he's only going to be able to play those minutes, and we know Al is not going to be as efficient, as effective on the second game with only 1 day off, that means we're going to need a little bit from the big green hornet, Luke Cornett. So hopefully he's able to have a solid performance from him. But that was really it for the bench, right? So Peyton Pritchard played 35 minutes for the Celtics. Porzingis played 19 and Cornette played 10. Everybody else was just like 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. So I suspect, again, we see a little bit more of a physical game. They announced that Scott Foster is going to be officiating, so I'm sure there'll be at least 2 or 3 controversial things that'll make everybody uncomfortable. But I would expect the Knicks to come up a little bit more aggressive, and I still think the Celtics have the opportunity to take this one. I mentioned this after they went down 2-0. This felt like a series where the Celtics were either going to lose in 4 or win in 6. I figured whoever was going to win Game 3 wasn't going to lose again this series, and I think that the Celtics, this is going to be the toughest one of all of those games. Again, I think you get back home, it's a little bit easier. If somehow they go up 3-2, you can kind of like step on their throat a little bit. But I think Game 4 with the Knicks, this is a must win for them. I know they're still up 2-1, but they can't blow both of these games. They can't just light home court advantage on fire after winning the first 2 games in Boston to then turn around and lose both to the Knicks. But again, I think the Celtics seeing the 3-ball go down was pretty important for them. And I imagine tonight that the Knicks are a little bit more physical. I bet we see a lower scoring game. Again, the Celtics put up 115. They credit the defense, though, right? Because that game they lost, Game 2, I believe the final score was 91-90. Then the very next night, or the very next game, they hold them to 93. So the defense has been there. And we should credit like the whole crew that's been getting on Jalen Brunson. So Brunson still finished this game with 27 points on 7 dimes. But again, 9 for 21 shooting, 3 for 8 from 3. Just has not been able to consistently get open and get comfortable shots, and you got to credit the Celtics defense for that. And also Karl Anthony Towns, there was a weird report afterwards where a reporter asked Cat if he had like broken a bone in his hand, and he just kind of dodged the question, and clearly something's up. He's not been comfortable with the 3-ball. He hit 1. He went 1 for 5 in this game. That was the first 3. Game 3 was the first time Cat had hit a 3-pointer this entire series. And if you ask Cat, which people have in the past, he says he's the best shooting big man in the game, or in the history of the game, something like that. Look at me trying to give a quote and then completely butchering it immediately. But if that's the case, if Cat's not going to be able to be like a real threat from the outside, it makes it a lot harder for Brunson to get to his spots. And then again, we mentioned the OG Anunoby just like goose egg. Now, I expect we get a big, better OG game. I don't think he's just going to consistently give you 2 to 4 points. I expect a little bit more from him. But so this one's going to be the toughest one for Boston, and hopefully they can match the physicality. And I think it's going to come down to the battle of the boards. If Porzingis if he's going to be limited in his minutes, and Al, we already mentioned, right, the older guy on a quick turnaround, it's going to have to be a lot of Tatum crashing the boards, Derek White, Drew Holiday playing a little bit bigger, and I think the battle of the boards are going to dictate who takes Game 4. So excited for that. We'll be back to cover more of Game 4 tomorrow, but before we do that, the Eastern Conference favorites, the number 1 seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Man, if you thought the Celtics blowing 20-point leads were bad, the Cavs at multiple points in last night's game 4 in Indiana were down 40 plus. It was gross. They got absolutely smoked. The Pacers now take a 3-1 lead. Donovan Mitchell clearly tweaked his ankle right before halftime, then came out for warm-ups at halftime, went to take a jump shot, then kind of buckled down a little bit. I imagine he's going to be questionable for their game 5 back in Cleveland tomorrow night. So there's a real chance where the Pacers are going to be just watching this Celtics-Knicks series and they're awaiting their opponent in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you don't think of the Pacers as this juggernaut, but they are 1 win away from back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals appearances. So there's going to be the path seems pretty wide open in the East. You've got the Knicks beating the Celtics right now 2-1. You got an upset city in Indiana with the Pacers up 3-1. The West is kind of a mess too with OKC and Denver 2-2. And then Minnesota, they play after the Celtics tonight. They're up 2-1 with a Steph Curry-less Golden State Warriors, which means it's a lot of Jonathan Kuminga, which doesn't mean a lot of postseason wins. So the playoffs have been just parity central. A lot of really interesting, fun games that have been coming down to the wire. And then hopefully we don't have that tonight and the Celtics just beat the pants off of them in the Garden. But we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with the series tied up 2-2. And I think we're due for a Jason Tatum game. So let's lock that in right now. All right, we called out the Cat game. We called out the Peyton Pritchard Renaissance. Jason Tatum night tonight in Game 4 in the Garden. But before you get out of here, do me a favor, smash the subscribe, drop a comment down just to say, hey, you're having a good time. And we'll see you next time.